Hello, everybody. Welcome along. It's another edition of the Cricket Badger podcast. I am James, and to my right on the screen in front of me, anyway, it's Sir Johns, the prolific tweeter of Indian cricket. He's always tweeting. How are you, sir? Welcome to the podcast.
First of all, thanks a lot for inviting me. It's a pleasure to talk cricket with you. I'm coming to the channel for the first time, so really looking forward to this chat.
And I mentioned to a couple of people who come on this podcast sometimes that you were coming on, and the first thing they said was, "When do you actually sleep?" Because anybody that follows you on Twitter, it's at Crick Crazy Johns. You are tweeting all day long about Indian cricket, about cricket around the world as well. Do you ever stop? Do you ever shut those eyes and get some sleep?
I used to sleep, I think it around 6 to 7 hours maximum. Then I used to sleep in noon time. Whenever I don't have this, I don't have some work. I used to work in a cricket website, so whenever there is no matches, then nowadays IPL is happening, so there is news each and every hour. There is lots of breaking news. In recently, Mitchell Marsh got injured, so there are lots of news. So I used to sleep around 6 to 7 hours.
What was it about cricket then? I mean, I know in India cricket is huge. 1.4 billion people love cricket, but what is it about that wanted to make you devote your life to cricket? Then, what is it that fascinates you about this great game of ours?
I think I started watching around 2004-5 when I was studying sixth standard or something. Not second standard, something second or third standard. First, it was we used to play in backyard. We used to watch cricket mainly during that time. ODIs were too much. ODIs was there compared to T20s in 2004-5. So ODIs was my first love. Then gradually, IPL came after 4 years. Especially India winning the T20 World Cup had lots of impact. Then in 2008, IPL came. Then there was no stopping. And earlier we had only two channels. So I couldn't watch lots of cricket matches apart from Team India or World Cups, etc. So when 2009 something cable came, so I used to watch lots of matches, especially test matches in West Indies, mainly because most of the test matches will be ending when we were in school. But in test matches in West Indies used to start around 7:30 p.m. or 8:30 p.m. in Indian time. So it was more easier to watch. So that is how everything came together. Then social media came. I used to start using social media around 2013-14. First, it was Facebook. We had a group in Facebook known as Cricket Rulers. I think there was 1 lakh members. I got lots of friends across India. Then in around 2015-16, I came to Twitter. During that time, we lost our group as well, mainly due to some copyright issues. Then I started using Twitter more. First, I used to update these things, etc., these scores, etc. Then, after around 2018, etc., I started picking up newses. Then, in last 1 year, etc., there are lots of journalists who used to help me. They used to give me their news. So that is how the growth happened. So I'm really thankful to them, especially lots of journalists, lots of websites, etc.
And when you were playing cricket, or I mean, do you still play cricket? What do you do? Were you a fast bowler or as the batsman? What's your role?
We used to play on Sundays mainly because most of them as jobs. It's really tough to play on weekdays. So we used to play on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. something or 4 p.m. We used to play during that time. I'm an all-rounder. I used to bat at 6 or 7. Then I used to bowl leg spin as well. So that is how.
I am obviously in England. I I've just watched England lose to West Indies in the Caribbean. From a distance, Johns, how do you rate the current English team? What's the problem with English cricket at the moment? Why can't we win Test matches?
I think there are world class players like we all know England is going through a transition phase. They have moved away, or they have dropped James Anderson and Stuart Broad for this series. But if you look at the batting, they have some world class batters or world class all rounders. With Joe Root is there, who has been one of the best batsmen in last 6 or 7 years. Then they have Ben Stokes, who has been one among top three all rounders in Test cricket, along with Jadeja and Jason Holder. Then recently, Johnny Bairstow has been doing so well in Test cricket from the Ashes in the fourth or fifth Test match. He has been doing so well. So they have players who can win you games, but the issue has been they are not coming together. To win a Test match, you need at least there should be 4 or 5 or 6 performers together. Or else it's really tough to win Test match. You can win 1 or 2 matches, but you can't win a series. Like England winning the first Test match against India, then they lost the series mainly because there were not match winners. There were not performers as a cluster. So that is one of the main issues. And if you look at the bowling unit, it's really inexperienced. Especially they right now they have dropped Anderson and Broad, so it's really tough to be critical towards them. We need to give them time. But still, the first priority they need to work out will be county cricket. Like they need to make pitches which is suited, more suited to be all-round cricketer, which can perform in Asian conditions, which can perform in Australia, which can perform in England, etc. If you look at the last home summer of England, like they have made a more tradition towards batting. If you look at the scores of last summer and compared to what happened 2 or 3 summers ago, it was really tough to bat. Like in 2018, when India came to England, it was really tough. I think only Virat Kohli performed really well. There were a few centuries here and there, but as a 5 match series, Virat Kohli dominated, and there was a long gap between rest of the players. But if you look at the last summer, Rory Burns scored a terrific 100. Devon Conway performed really well. When India came, Joe Root scored 2 or 3 hundreds in that series. So pitches are somewhat changing. We need to see in the summer as well, because South Africa is coming, New Zealand is coming. Then India will be playing one Test match. So it will be interesting to see what kind of pitches they are going to prepare. And I think might be bringing back Anderson and Broad as well. Especially after the series lose, we need to wait and watch how that goes, because there is lots of pressure on Joe Root as well. Even though Joe Root told he likes to continue as England captain, but if you look at the former England players, there are lots of pressure. They need to move away from Joe Root, etc. So it will be really interesting 2 months, especially county cricket going to begin, and I think most of the England players will be playing. Like Ben Stokes is going to play county, Sam Curran is going to play county. Most of them are pulled out of the IPL, so these guys will be available. So it will be really interesting county season as well. Then from India, Pujara will be coming as well. So it's really going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to see, especially Pujara as well. Mainly he has been dropped from the Test team. He recently played the Ranji Trophy, so he will be coming to play the whole county season, and I think that he'll be playing the Royal London Monday Cup as well. So it will be really interesting to see and follow the county cricket as well.
Yeah, Chester Shaw's got a bit of a point to prove, isn't he, at the moment? I mean, you mentioned pitches there around the world, and I mean, following England to India, as soon as it starts turning, you're thinking, oh my goodness, they're going to fall apart against the spin of Ashwin and co. But I actually think one of the great things about world cricket, Johns, is that you have these differences in home nature of surfaces. I growing up as a youngster, you always knew that if England were going to Pakistan or India or Sri Lanka, it was likely to turn. If you were going to go to Australia, it was going to be pacey and bouncy. If you're playing in England, you might get a bit of seam movement. Those kind of things, we in my opinion anyway, you don't want bland pitches around the world that are the same everywhere you go. Would you agree with that?
I think there has been change after the COVID time. If you look at, there has been lots of draw Test matches. Like 2 Test matches was drawn in West Indies, then 2 Test matches were 2 Test matches were drawn in Pakistan as well. So I think there is some changes. Teams are looking or boards are looking to long that Test match. If you look at what happened from 2018 or 2017 to 2020, there has been lots of 2-day Test matches, 3-day Test matches, 4-day Test matches, and the Test matches which went to 5th day was really less. But if you look at last few months, there has been a good change, like batters getting more scores, or there has been 400, 600, or 700 run score. So it will be a really interesting time. If you look at in 2018-19, it was really difficult to bat. Like apart from a few batters like Virat or then Kane Williamson performed in few patches. Then Steve Smith, even though he was banned, but when he came back in that Ashes, he scored around 600, 700 runs. But apart from that, if you look at most of the batters struggled during that period. But in recent times, there has been a change. I don't know what happened. Maybe because like boards need to have that fifth day as well, because there will be lots of sponsors. There will be sponsors will be saying that they need to extend that as much, or else they'll be in big loss as well, because there is lots of money involved in this. It will be a really interesting time. I really hope this 400 continues, 400, 500, but going to 600, 700 will be really difficult. Watching that first two test match, it was really difficult in Pakistan, especially everyone was scoring runs. Like I really like 400, 500, or 300 or 350 to 500 kind of pitches. That will be better for test cricket as well. So hopefully, and there are WTC is a very good aspect as well. Like people used to follow lots of test matches. Earlier, it was just India test matches, or India playing home conditions, or India playing Australia, South Africa, etc. But right now, if you look at even India, even though many won't be watching, but there will be people who needs to know what happened there. Like when Bangladesh played in New Zealand, or Ashes happened, or Pakistan played against Australia. So people are looking forward to these test matches. So I think I really hope ICC changes that, because there are news that WTC won't be continuing, etc. But I really hope it continues, because it will be, even though there are lots of issues, especially the points system, etc., percentage system. Then there should be more points to away wins, etc. There should be some changes, but still WTC should be a part of world cricket, because people will be looking forward to more test matches when top side, especially top side plays.
When you wake up in the morning, is the first thing you do to jump on the computer and look around the various news sites and see what you're going to tweet? Because you do seem to be on cricket all day long. Are you constantly on your phone or on your computer just looking for the latest bit of information to put out there?
I used to when I wake up, I used to check first Quick Info. I used to check, because they are the most trusted source as well. They will be covering cricket all around, all across the world. Even though there is Crickbus as well, but Crickbus has like limitation compared to Quick Info. Quick Info has journalists everywhere, even from West Indies or New Zealand or everywhere they have journalists. So I'll be going to Quick Info first. But these days, if you look at IPL, or Times of India is covering really well. Then Indian Express is there. I used to check almost everything in first 30 minutes, just what happened in last 6 7 hours. Then there is IPL website, because I'm not a journalist, so I can't go into this press conference. Or then I used to watch the press conference. They'll be updating in their IPL website. We can watch their press conference, who have played, etc. So these are the first things I used to do these days.
The IPL's taken the world by storm, hasn't it? It's the biggest tournament in cricket domestically, certainly. India, massive population. You guaranteed the weather as well, which helps. I mean, they come across to England, it rains. The IPL expanded to 10 teams as well this season. Just getting underway at the moment. How do you see it in terms of its strength? Is it an upward curve? Do you see it improving and continuing to improve?
I think it will be improving, especially if there was 10 teams in 2011. But if you look at the T20 talents in 2011, T20 talents in 2021, it's really different. There has been lots of talents coming from Zimbabwe. Even recently, Blessing got the netballer contract. Joshua Little from Ireland got the netballing contract with Chennai Super Kings. Then, if you look at yesterday's match, Rajapaksa played a brilliant knock for Punjab Kings. So there are T20 talents coming from Sri Lanka, from Afghanistan. We all know there are lots of Afghanistan players, like Gurbaz is there, Rashid is there, Nabi is there, Noor Ahmad is there, Farooqi is there. So T20 talents are growing. if teams are improving as well as a scouting team, looking lots of data, matchups, etc. If you look at maybe they might not be well balanced, mainly because they are trying out 7 Indians and 4 overseas. So there will be some limitations, but still, if you look at teams are well compact, or 10 teams, if you look at, there is no clear advantage for anyone right now in this IPL. There are lots of weaknesses for the team. There are lots of strengths for the team. So it will be going to an open IPL, even though there will be limitations, especially when you compare with overseas talents, especially these under 19 players, or who are playing inside Mushtaq, etc. Maybe they don't have the experience, or maybe they might be critical against raw pace, etc. while facing, but still they'll be overcoming one after 1 or 2 seasons. I believe it will be improving. And if you look at maybe BCC can do something like including 5 overseas and 6 Indians. That is one of the thing they can try out, but still it will be maybe after 2 3 years, etc. And right now, I think it is really well balanced. We might see a very close IPL, even though few teams has few issues, mainly because most of the players are split as well. Like KL Rahul went to Lucknow, Rashid went to Gujarat, Hardik Pandya went to Gujarat. There has been lots of changes as well. So
That's one of
teams.
that's one of the things I think, Johns, that makes it fascinating this season, because after a mega auction, when everything moves around so much, and the auctions themselves for the IPL are an event in themselves over 2 days. They're box office, aren't they, to see which big names go to which of the franchises and how it's all going to pan out. But when you get so many new different faces at the different franchises, you've got 2 new teams in it this time around. It does make it very hard to predict it, doesn't it? Because until we see this tournament settle down and we work out how each of these 10 teams are going to play and what their strengths are, and as you say, the weaknesses of the sides, it's going to be very difficult to actually predict the winner this time around, isn't it?
Yes, even top four is difficult.
Mm.
I won't say, yeah, I think it's really difficult to say right now. If you look at the matches happen, no one expected Delhi to win, even though they won the toss, etc. But there was no due factor. Match was played in the noon time, but still Delhi Capitals came from nowhere and they won, because they don't have Warner was not there, Mitchell Marsh was not there, Nokia was not there. There was lots of issues in the team, etc. Balance, but still they won the match. So it's really difficult to tell which team will be winning, which team will be losing, etc. Even top four is so difficult to predict, because, as I said earlier, there are lots of weaknesses for each franchise. There are lots of strength for each franchise. If you look at Gujarat, has a very good bowling unit. Like Rashid is there, Sai Kishore is there, Shami is there, Loki Ferguson is there, Hardik Pandya is there, but their batting will be slightly slim compared to what Punjab Kings has. Punjab Kings has Bairstow, Shikhar Dhawan, Mayank Agarwal, Liam Livingston, Dane Smith, Shah Rukh Khan is there. So they have very good batting, but their bowling can be slightly vulnerable side as well. Even though they have Rabada, but still they have got inexperience in their bowling. If you look at RCB has a very good bowling, even though they went for 200 runs. But once Jose Hazelwood is back, I believe RCB will be having a very good bowling unit as well. But their batting can be slightly a worry aspect as well. So there are lots of issues for each franchise, and there are strength for each franchise as well. So it's really difficult, and I think it will be going to be one of the most open IPL ever in the history of the league as well.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, isn't it? I understand from your Twitter feeds, Johns, you're a CSK man, are you? That's your team?
Yes, CSK.
So I assume from that MSD is your hero, is he? He tends to be.
Yes, he was my first idol in cricket. When I started watching, especially I started watching 2004, and he debuted on 2004 as well. So I have followed almost every match of his career as well. So he has been my one of these heroes in cricket as well.
Have you ever met him?
No, I haven't met any cricketer.
So MSD, what would that mean to you if you were to walk into a room and MSD was there and he came, shook your hand and talked cricket with you? Would that be the best day of your life?
Yes, it should be. I haven't met any cricket. I have watched, I think, 3 or 4 matches from the ground, 2 or 3 T20s and 2 or 3 ODA something. But I haven't met any cricketer. Hopefully, it will be happening very soon. But as of now, I haven't met anyone.
I'm always amazed with Mahendra Singh Dhoni when he walks out, even for a practice game, and the crowd turns up at the stadium, don't they? And they give him such an ovation, even if he's just walking out to have a net session. He is just so big, isn't he, in Indian cricket? People, yeah, they don't just love him; they, as you say, idolize him. He's huge, isn't he?
Yes, he has been a superhero for many people. Like the success has been like uh, there was a film on based on Dhoni as well. Then the way he has changed Indian cricket as a captain and as a wicketkeeper as well. If you look at if you look at the history of Indian wicketkeepers, it should be before Dhoni and after Dhoni. That should be in the history books. I'm not saying in right now, but after 10 or 20 years or 30 years, when Dhoni will be like 60 years of age or 70 years of age, then people will be considering as an Indian cricket, especially as a wicketkeeper, it should be before Dhoni and after Dhoni. I think that is the impact Dhoni made in Indian cricket and as a captain as well. Everyone knows what happened in the 2007 T20 World Cup, 2011 ODI World Cup, then Champions Trophy, then IPL. He has won 4 titles, and apart from one season, they were in top four every time as well. So the consistency and leading a team for a decade as well. Like he started in 2007, then he gave that ODI captaincy and T20 captaincy to Virat on 2017. So almost a decade he led Indian cricket as well. It's really, if you look at, I don't see many captains. Maybe there'll be 2 or 3 or 4 captains who was led a particular country or particular franchise for a decade. It will be maybe 2 or 3 people will be there. 2 or 3 players will be there. So that is the impact Dhoni made, and people love him as well because if you go in any stadium, I have watched in 2007 and 2013. It was just massive when he came to bat. People were, I think there were 30 or 40,000 people, and even as you mentioned the practice as well. I think it was in 2019, if I'm right, or 2018. Chennai practice in Chepauk before the IPL, and there were around 10,000 or 20,000 people who just came to see the practice of Dhoni, Reina, etc. So that is the impact he has made, and he's from Jharkhand, but the way he impacting Chennai people as well, that is really huge.
Yeah, it's incredible. I can never get my head around the fact that the stadium fills up just to watch somebody practice, but he just is he's bigger than the sport almost, isn't he? And I mean, I'm old enough, Johns, to have seen India win their first World Cup, Kapil Dev lifting the trophy. I mean, he was a hero. Sunil Gavaskar was a hero. But then you go through and, um, you know, Sachin Tendulkar and MSD, and to a degree, I suppose Virat Kohli, although I think he's probably a little bit behind the other two. Absolutely huge adulation. They are the major names of Indian cricket. Um, I mean, I might be wrong with this, but I do think that Virat, despite the fact that he's an incredible player, is just a little bit behind in terms of love from the Indian public than MSD is. What's the reason for that? Because he's still an exceptional talent, isn't he?
I think everything came together in the generation. That might be the reason. Like Sachin played till 2013. Virat debuted on 2008. Dhoni started in 2004, and he almost going to be an end in 2022 2023. So everything came together. That might be the reason. If Virat was in a different generation, he would have been considered as Sachin or Kapil or Gavaskar, etc. So I think that might be the reason. If you look at Kapil Dev and Sunil Gavaskar came in a single generation. Some people were motivated through Kapil Dev, some people were motivated to Sunil Gavaskar as well. So it got splitted. Almost similar what happened right now. And I think if you look at before during the era of Sachin Tendulkar, it was almost only cricket. But if you look at right now in 2022, football came, ISL came, then there is hockey is there, then there are other sport as well. Like it's not only about cricket right now. There are other sport who has been coming through the ranks or coming people liking those different sport as well. So that might be the another reason as well. If you look at in 2000 or 90s etc., it was only about cricket. Maybe there will be other few sport etc., but still cricket was dominating. But in 2021 or 2021, 22, it is not that. The sports are also playing a big role in Indian public. That might be the another reason.
One of the things with the IPL that always stands out for me is how some of these young rags to riches stories crop up. You get the likes of Jayasval and people like that who have come from literally nothing almost. to become very, very rich cricketers and famous people. It's one of the real kind of some fantastic stories around the IPL, isn't there? In terms of people effectively making it. I can remember watching the documentary on the Mumbai Indians and Jasprit Bumrah taking the cameras back to see his mother and going back to where it all started for him. And obviously his journey has been a very long one. And yeah, he's top of the tree right now when it comes to pace bowlers. There's some fantastic stories around the IPL and how people have taken those opportunities, aren't there?
I think that is one of the beauties of this IPL as well. Every year there has been one or two players. Like last year it was Nataraj, and this year there will be another champion coming through the ranks. If you look at the 2008 Rajasthan Royals team, Swapnil Asnokar was there, Trivedi was there. There were lots of players who came from nowhere. So it has been the beauty of sport, and some of them has been playing a big role in the Indian cricket as well. As you mentioned, Bumrah, Hardik Pandya, these guys came from nowhere, and IPL played a huge role as well, helping and shaping up their career. And these guys will be getting lots of experience. Like even if you look at one of the rise has been Chetan Sakriya. He was a net bowler with RCB. He got that experience through net bowlers, then talking with Mike Hassan, or there are lots of other staff, etc. And AB de Villiers, Virat, etc. Then after 1 year, he came into Rajasthan Royals. He performed so well. Then he came to Indian senior team. He played for India as well. So that has been and IPL. I think IPL has reduced the gap as well. Earlier, if you look at Saeed Mushtaq Ali, Vijay Hazare, Ranji Trophy, then directly into India A team, then directly into India senior team. But right now there is a bridge called IPL. People will be getting opportunity to IPL, and even they are playing these state matches. But IPL will be shaping them better, better facilities, better coaching staff, and you can talk with the greatest ones as well. If you are going to Mumbai Indians, there is Sachin Tendulkar. There is Rohit Sharma, there is Shane Bond is there, Sahir Khan is there, Mahela Jayawardene is there. If you look at Chennai Super Kings, there is Dhoni is there, Stephen Fleming is there, Mike Hussey is there. If you look at Gujarat Titans, there is Gary Krishnan is there is Nehara is there, Vikram Solanki is there. If you look at Lucknow Super Giants, there is Andy Flower is there, Gautam Gambhir is there. So that has been the beauties of cricket as well. There are legends in support staff or coaching staff, etc., and that helped them as well.
You mentioned Sakurai there. He always makes me smile. He just looks like he's loving it, doesn't he? He looks like he's always got a smile on his face, and he just looks like he's just enjoying being part of it. And it's you like to see your sportsmen look as if they're loving what they're doing as well, don't you? I mean, the other thing with the kind of the rags to riches kind of stuff, but it's great for the Indian national team as well, isn't it? Because the step up to international cricket from the IPL is not a huge one. You know, they've played these youngsters come in and they're playing against the greats of the game from around the world, and when they step into that Indian national shirt and they're playing international cricket, that transition is not such a big step up because they've been playing in those big stadiums. They've been in those pressurized situations. They're just doing it in an Indian shirt instead of I don't know, Rajasthan Royals or an RCB shirt instead, aren't they?
Yes, if you look at IPL's role in Indian cricket is massive. Like even though it's a small, it's if you compare English Premier League or La Liga, etc., it has been started almost 100 years ago. And if you compare that with IPL, it has been just 12 or 13 years, and the impact IPL made is huge in world cricket. That has been the success of IPL as well. Even from overseas players as well. If you look at whenever they are not getting contract, they'll be tweeting something. They'll be looking forward to next year. There are many very happy faces as well. Like recently, if you look at the way Mark Wood has been, if you look at his recent Instagram post as well, he is so sad that he got injured. He's not playing the IPL. So he was really looking forward to see this season and play the season. Last year he got an opportunity, but I think something happened. Mumbai Indians called him as a replacement, something, but I think he was not available, something. But this year he came into the auction. He was really looking forward to see, but he got injured. And the Instagram post he made as well, that shows the impact of players to play in IPL and what, even though there is money involved, but there are many things other than money as well. Money plays a huge part, but you can be more experienced. And if you look at what Morgan told, what Andrew Strauss told, etc., after winning the 2019 World Cup as well, IPL played a huge part. Like most of the England players who played in that World Cup was in IPL, like Josh Butler, Johnny Bairstow. Then there were Jason Roy played a few seasons. Alex Hayes was part of few seasons. These guys was getting experience. So that has it's not only about Indian cricket, but it has helped other nations as well, and it has helped the players who were not part of the group, who performed really well, got that opportunity in the national setup as well. So that is how everything changed. It has impacted a lot in Indian cricket as well as world cricket as well.
Why are India not winning every trophy that comes then? When it comes to ICC global events, England obviously winning the 2019 World Cup, but India always start as one of the favourites in all of these competitions and then go out in the semi-finals, or they struggle, don't they? Why is that, do you think?
It's really tough to tell what happened. Like India won the last ICC tournament in senior team in 2013. Since then, India played lots of final. Like in 2014 T20 World Cup, they played in the final. 2015 ODI World Cup, they played in the semi-final. 2016 T20 World Cup, they played in the semi-final. Then Champions Trophy final, World Cup semis. Then recently, they knocked out in the group stage. But I still believe in each World Cup there has been few issues. Like in 2019 World Cup, the middle order was a huge issue. We all know what happened. Like they tried many players, but couldn't work out. In 2021, the game time was really less. Like senior team played in March something against England. Then there was a long gap. They played a series in England, but they were not playing T20 format. Then if you look at in 2015 ODI World Cup, I still believe Australia was the dominant side because they lost. India lost that semi-final, etc. But I still think if they are winning one World Cup, we will be seeing a domination from Indian cricket as well, like what Australia did in 2000s, etc. So I believe it's just a matter of one World Cup, and India has the talent pool as well. Like if you look at the fight for the opening spot, like if you look at, there is Shikhar and KL is opening T20 format. Shikhar and no, Rohit and KL opening T20 format. Rohit and Shikhar opening ODI format. And if you look at the backup options, like there is Prithvi Shah is there, Ruturaj Gaikwad is there, Jaiswal is there. Then there are tons of players who can do. Mayank Agarwal is there. There are lots of players who are waiting in the wings to get one opportunity. And if you look at Shubman Gill, everyone was expecting Shubman Gill to make out into Indian team very soon after winning the 2009 2018 under 20 World Cup. But it has been 3 or 4 or almost 4 years. But he couldn't. He's not getting much opportunity. He will be getting 1 or 2 opportunities, but you need to give at least 10 or 20 matches to for a talent. But he's not getting, mainly because the talent pool is rich talent pool who are part of the system. It's really difficult to break out into the Indian team. So
That's
that's
it.
also,
I can see that as being a problem. I mean, it's a nice problem to have because you got one, as I said, 1.4 billion people who want to play for the national team, either women or men. But funneling that talent into 11 shirts when you've got so many people playing the game, so many people loving the game, and so many people wanting to be in the Indian national team, that's quite some task for the BCCI, isn't it? To get those people, get the right people in the right places.
yes, yeah, it's really difficult. But BCC is doing lots of work as well. Like right now, they are going to start an emerging team as well. Like after the under 19 system, there is suddenly a Ranji Trophy, Said Mushtaq Ali, Vijay Sir, etc. But few players will be moving away from the system. For them, they are going to start emerging team, almost what is similar to under 19, under 25, or under 24. So they are looking or trying to make different aspects or different things to counter these things. Mainly, some players won't be getting opportunity, even though they might be highly talented. They might be the future Indian stars, etc. But they can divert from the system. There are lots of examples. Recently, there has been Unmuk Chand who went to US, or there are other players who went to US. There are many players are looking forward or moving to US because of better life. They are going to start the major league cricket, then they'll be hosting the T20 World Cup, etc. A small part. So most of the players are trying to move into US or other countries for better opportunities. So BCC is trying many things, like emerging team is going to start, and this COVID has hit badly as well. Like Ranji Trophy, even though it started, but it wasn't played in last 2 seasons. India A team is not traveling as well. Apart from that one series which happened last year against South Africa, A team hasn't toured much after COVID. So I really hope after COVID, it will be the things will be getting better, like under 19 Ranji Trophy, Saeed Mushtaq Ali, Vijay Asare, emerging team, India A team, then Challenger Trophy, the Duke Trophy, then IPL, senior team, etc. So it is really tough, but BCC can do that because they are massive. They are the biggest cricket body in the world as well. Even though there is ICC, etc., but the money is coming more from BCC as well. So they can do these things. I really hope they work out. And they have been doing, but the issue has been these COVID, etc., which is not controllable for them as well.
Well, I mean, winning in Australia with the almost like the third team at some stage, wasn't it? It kind of shows the strength in depth that India have right now. I mean, you could pretty much put out two teams in cricket, couldn't you, as an Indian nation, and both of them would be very competitive. Amit Dube's been on with a question. He says, why England doesn't have a regular shadow tour of the England day team or under 23 team to other countries like India. I mean, you've just mentioned that, Johnson, the emerging teams and the thought process with that with Team India. I mean, England do usually have A tours, but COVID, like Johns has just said, Amit, has wrecked all that kind of stuff at the moment. The last 2 years has been a bit of a mess, hasn't it, in terms of overseas tours with bubbles and what have you, and the A tours have paid the price. So I think you'll see that, Amit, as we go further forward. If I was to give you, I'm going to finish off with a few of my regular questions on here. If I was to give you complete control of cricket, Johns, you're the man in the big office, your name is on the door, and you can do anything you want with the world game, what would be the first thing you did?
I think it's really tough to tell, but I'd be introducing two-tier system in Test cricket, like top 6 teams in one, then second division for 7 to 12. It will be helping, and whoever performing really well in the 7 to 12 system will be upgrading, and whoever doing so badly in that 1 to 6 will be moving into second division. So that will be one thing I will be doing. It will be helping Test cricket as well. For Test cricket will be that idea, and ODIs. I think this ODI Super League should be continuing, or else you can't see a Netherlands versus New Zealand series happening if there is no ODI Super League, or Ireland going to England. It happened in 2019 or 2020 something. Ireland toured for the 3 ODIs when Ireland won their first ODI, etc. When Paul Stirling, etc., scored that very good 100. So I will be continuing this ODI Super League for ODI cricket, and for T20s. I'll be putting a calendar, like reducing T20 internationals and giving more to T20 leagues, like CPL starting. It won't be coinciding. Like if CPL is happening, there won't be any league. Like PSL will be happening on January. Then no, Big Bash will be ending on January. PSL will be starting on Feb. Then IPL will be starting on April. Then T20 Plus will be starting around June last week. Then CPL will be starting around September. Then there is Canada T20 League is there. So that is the one thing. And I will be reducing the T20 internationals as well. Right now, there are series like 5 T20 series, 5 T20 matches, 7 T20 matches will be happening. I think Pakistan versus one of the teams will be playing 7 T20 internationals this year. I don't know. I forgot about the opposition team. So I believe T20 international should be reducing, and we should be giving more priority to leagues plus Test cricket and ODI format.
Don't you think, though, that surely international cricket, playing for your country, goes above playing for your IPL side?
I think we have discussed this earlier as well. The money playing a big impact. Like the amount of money Nokia are getting, or Rabada going to get, or Deco going to get, Marco Janison going to get. These are huge. And if you read the article of Chris Morris, what he told, like last year he got 15 crores, and it will be helping Chris Morris for rest of his life, for his children, for their studies, and he can settle down somewhere in South Africa as well. That is the impact IPL making for overseas players. So it's really tough to tell. We need to look at the future as well. Even though people used to say countries first, money second, etc. But if you ask them as well in their particular life, what is bigger? It is whether it's country or money. Many, almost 90% of people will be saying money, and the same people will be too much critical on these players as well. They are not looking at their from that player side. So if you are looking from the player side, money is huge, especially players who are coming from the South Africa or West Indies, etc. They are not even if you look at the contract money as well, it's really less. So it's really difficult to tell.
On that kind of vein of discussion, how much of a responsibility do the BCCI and ECB and Cricket Australia, the big three, India the most powerful and the richest of the big three, how much responsibility do they have to spread the wealth a little bit to some of these other nations that you've mentioned, and probably even beyond into the associate nations and what have you, so that cricket is strong around the world and it's not just concentrated in three nations, the wealth?
I think that is one reason I said earlier we need to continue ODI Super League. Like if ODI Super League was not happening, we wouldn't have seen a South Africa versus Ireland series or New Zealand versus Netherlands series, etc. So if ODI Super League is continuing, there is a rule like teams should be playing against these teams. These teams should be playing in home conditions. These teams should be playing in away conditions, etc. So they'll be getting the money. So if they are not going to have ODI Super League as if now, ICC has informed that there won't be ODI Super League from 2024, and this will be hurting this associate nation like Netherlands or other countries really badly. So that is where ICC need to be involved. And if you look at before COVID, or just before COVID, like if the FTP cycle was formed, like in April and May, there weren't much international matches apart from Pakistan playing some of the series, maybe against Zimbabwe or Bangladesh or Ireland, etc. But this COVID was one of the reasons why this Bangladesh playing against South Africa right now, or New Zealand playing against Netherlands right now. These things happen due to COVID. So I think after COVID, once this FTP gets together, once these series happening regularly, then I still think there won't be much international matches happening during April and May. So there won't be much issues in after 1 or 2 years as well.
Going to finish with two questions, Johns, and it's been brilliant to have you on today. Love talking to you. The first question is a silly one, but I'm going to let you jump into the body of another human being. Pick a cricketer, a current cricketer, so anywhere in the world who you'd like to jump in the body of, be them for 24 hours, have their life and have their skills on the cricket pitch.
Playing right now.
Yes.
Right now.
You can go back in time if you want. I'll let you change it. It's fine.
I think I'll be picking Sachin, and second will be McGrath.
Sachin was I met Sachin in the Champions League in, was it 2010? He was roaming around the Mumbai Indians nets on his own, and I thought, I'm not going to get a chance like this ever again. So I went up to him and asked him for an interview, and he said very nicely, he said, "No, I'm not doing any interviews while I'm here in South Africa." And then but then I shook his hand again to say goodbye. So I shook his hand twice just to make sure that I'd touched the great man. I'm going to finish off with the IPL, obviously 2022 just starting. And we've just said how hard it is to call this competition, but I'm going to ask you to call it. Who are the final four, and who wins it? Who's going to make the playoffs, and who's going to lift the trophy?
I think it's really difficult. I can't answer that. I would say if you look at RCB only, then I would be suggesting them to the top four. Then if I am going to check Lucknow Super Giants, after some time I'll be thinking, oh, this team will be going to top four. If I look to Chennai Super Kings, after some time they might be going to top four. So that is the issue I had for last couple of weeks. I have been checking all the teams really closely. I have been looking for the playing 11s. I have been watching lots of previews. I have read lots of things from Cricinfo, Cricket.com, Crickbus, etc. But then I checked many things, their matchup options, their stats in last two IPLs, what happened in Wankhede pitch, what happened in CCI, Brabant, then Pune, etc. I still couldn't find an answer. Uh, I I still think it's really tough to answer who will be the top four. It will be going to an open IPL and it will be going to be really close. I think top four will be decided in the last week of or third week of May.
Well, that was a slight cop-out answer, but I completely understand why, because it is a ridiculously difficult competition to call, and it's going to be fascinating over the next 2 months or whatever it is to see who actually finally wins that trophy and lifts IPL 2022. Thank you very much for joining me on the Cricket Badger podcast today, Johns. It's been a pleasure to speak to you, pleasure to meet you, and hopefully at some stage we'll get you back on in the future. Maybe after this IPL, we can meet again and discuss what's happened and have a bit of a review of what we've seen over the last 2 months. But until then, lovely to speak to you, and thank you very much for joining me today.
Thanks a lot for inviting me into this show. And who are watching this video, do subscribe his YouTube channel. There are lots of contents, etc. So I'm really looking forward to be chatting more in future as well. And once again, thanks a lot for inviting me.
Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you again very